Well, we made it. We survived our first week of distance learning. I am so incredibly proud of the job your students have been doing and continue to do on a daily basis with this new platform and this new learning style. I've been very happy with all the good work that they have been doing. All right, so I jotted down some notes. I'm going to kind of go through the email that I sent and talk a little bit more about each bullet point because I had a lot of things going in my head and I thought it'd be easier just to say it in video. All right, so when your child is logged into Zoom, please encourage them to have their camera on. It's very difficult for me to make sure that your child is doing what they're supposed to, that they're actually there participating in the lesson. We've had a couple of breaks, and even though I've got the timer up, sometimes the kids don't come back in time, and I'm calling their name, but the camera is off, but we've got to get started. So making sure that when their break is done, that the camera does come back on, the video goes back on, so I can make sure they're in their seat and ready to learn. Let's see, chat function. Well, the kids had lots of fun chatting that first day, and boy, did I learn my lesson. And I made the chat available only certain instructional times. I'm putting on the chat for just open conversation for the kids the first 10 minutes before school starts. So around 7:50 I log on and the chat is available. A lot of kids like chitty chatting with each other in the chat room there. And as long as they keep it all school appropriate, I'll still allow that function to be open. But when it's time for direct instruction and learning, I'm turning the chat off unless I use it to ask the kids a question and I want them to reply in the chat. All right, PE Google Classroom. I think everybody successfully added that to their list of classes in Google Classroom. Miss Wynn is going to be putting in some weekly forms for the kids to log their activities. It's suggested they do about 30 minutes of activity a day. We will have PE taught by Miss Wynn one day a week, and they're about 20-minute rotations. So that will count for that particular day, but on the other days where they don't have PE instruction, starting next week, we're going to have it written down in their agenda, and at the end of the week on Fridays, they'll have to submit that form. Okay. Oh, speaking of forms, the forms that were inside the yellow parent information folder inside the boxes, there has, computer permission slip, there's a library permission slip, there's information about just checking on your address and phone number, making sure all of that is up to date. Please make sure you fill out those forms and return them to the box that's outside the office. They have a box right by the front door. Check your students' agenda daily. We've been writing down what we are responsible for at the end of the day after lunch. There will be a time of a bigger block of independent work, and that's where you're going to see essentially their homework. Hopefully it does not take them past 2 o'clock. If it does, because it's either too challenging or there's technology issues, send me an email and we'll be able to figure out a workaround for your child. Also, if the work is too easy, let me know that as well so I can give them something more challenging. In Google Classroom, if your child could please check the upcoming due dates, that's a good way for you as a parent to know also. You can click View All. Now my screen will probably be different, so I can see who's turned in things, how many are assigned. I'm not doing any grading in Google Classroom. All of the grades will be entered in Synergy. So you won't be able to see the grades on Google Classroom. You'll see them in Synergy or in Parent View. But clicking on this upcoming due date box in the stream. It will help you figure out if your child's turned things in, if things are missing, if things are coming up, or maybe if something was turned in late. So check that. You could check it daily or at least weekly. All right, I added a video in Google Classroom. It's right here, actually, about fixing the pop-up blocker. I'm going to put it in the help desk video section. Any kind of help desk video type situations, I'm going to drop the video into that section or that topic in their classwork. So they'll go here, and right now there's just the two videos about where my math lesson is and how to use Google Meet. That was from that first day of school. And I'm going to add on there how to unblock the pop-ups, because that was happening with some of the Think Central games for math. Let's see, what's my next thing on the list? Well, speaking of Zoom issues, my goodness, the first day of school and Zoom breaks down nationwide. Wow. But you know what? All of your kids were able to figure out, and you were able to help them get into Google Meet. And we had 100% attendance all week long. And that is just fantastic. I can't say how proud I am and how happy I was that we had perfect attendance all week long. Now, I know there are some issues sometimes with logging in. I didn't mark anybody tardy this week. We're still trying to get our feet on the ground and get this running. Later on down the road, I will be starting to mark tardies, especially if it's, not a Zoom or a technology related issue. So other Zoom issues. If your student is complaining that their video is lagging or if it's glitchy, have their computer closest to the router as possible. That's been helping. Logging off and shutting everything down and logging back in. That's another good way to fix whatever Zoom issue they might be having. Clean out the cookies in a computer, the cache of cookies. They'll have sometimes that'll keep you from logging in, and it might say something along the lines of the passcode is incorrect. The password is still going to be Kolpakov. The link is still going to be in Google Classroom, and it should be good unless Zoom crashes again. But anyway, try clearing out the cookies. Hotspots. I noticed for my own children at home, when Zoom wasn't working through our Wi-Fi, they hooked it up through a hotspot on their cell phone, and that was a good workaround if there were internet issues in your area. Microphones. A lot of the kids that have the headset with the microphone that's going around, those seem to be working out just fine. Earbuds that have the microphone down around their neck, sometimes it gets a little scratchy and it gets into their shirt or maybe their hair, and it's difficult for me to hear what they're saying. So if they're going to use one of those, hair should be back, and then making sure that the microphone is close to their mouth. To be honest, the kids that don't have any microphone at all, I hear them the best. I know that the headsets definitely help you hear, or help the kids, help them hear. But the microphone on some of those headsets is a little bit shaky. All right. I've heard some other things, some other background noise. I know sometimes the kids are next to a sibling and we can hear the other classroom going on. So if they can have their own separate space, that would be helpful. If they're in a room that has the television off too, preferably. I've heard some television shows coming through, and if I can hear it, then your kids can hear it, and it might be distracting them. So watch out for that. Like I said, our attendance is just amazing. We've been able to get a lot of things done. So we worked on specific learning targets. Let me bring up some things here. So they've logged into Zoom and Google Meet. They've been able to follow our etiquette and rules for Zoom. They participated in classroom activities. We were able to successfully do some breakout rooms. They're following rules and procedures just fine. And we have learned how to, and some of them are relearning or just getting a reminder about how to use some basic Google and keyboarding skills. Things like making a text box on a Google slide. I taught them how to do that. Clicking and dragging. They have successfully started a Google Doc and added an assignment into Google Classroom. When given just the assignment, they learned how to click add or create, and they created a Google document on their own. We also, they were able to insert some images that were already there, and they were just clicking and dragging. So this week was all about building relationships, making friendships with kids that are in our class, learning a lot of technology, and really just going through procedures and expectations. Today, though, I did start a math lesson, and so we are going to be slowly but surely folding in more curriculum academics, and I don't want to overwhelm them by giving them too much and having things go haywire. I want to be able to spend the time now to get a solid foundation in this new platform, and then when we move forward, we'll be able to move forward a lot more smoothly. So math, we started today. We've been reading our chapter book and doing a couple of reading comprehension things as well. I started a lot of assessments with the kids to figure out what level they are at and what they still need some support on, and I'll continue to do that throughout next week. And we'll start to get into our science and social studies curriculum as well. And finally, thank you to those of you who have already requested a parent conference and those of you who have already had conferences with. It's always nice to get to know the families and your goals and hopes for your children. I really have enjoyed having those meetings with all of you. So if you want to have a conference yourself and you haven't signed up already, you can click the link that's in the email and fill out that form, and I'll get back to you. And I wanted to end on a happy note here. In our Google Classroom, our virtual classroom rather, if you look to this Garfield kitty calendar here, for the past going on 19 years, every day I give an award from my daily calendar, and I usually write them a quick note, quick message, and send it to them and pass it on their way, and it's kind of become a great tradition of mine. And with distance learning, it was one of the things I was very sad that I might not be able to continue, but where there is a will, there is a way. So if your child, and you could even check this out, click on the Garfield. We have virtual kitty calendars, and so from our first day of school all the way through until I give one out on the weekend as well, you can see if your child has earned a little happy note from me. You can check that out for yourself. So it's been a great week. It's been a long week, and I appreciate all of you and all of the help you're giving your kids. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to email or send a message. I'll do my best in between teaching the kids and going from all my screens here at school. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can, but please never hesitate to reach out and ask a question. It's my pleasure to teach your kids, and I'll see you all next week.